Hi, I'm Rosie.
And I'm Christina.
I'm Alexa.
And welcome to the 41st Valid Vibes podcast.
Where the vibes are valid.
Because they are real and authentic.
Woo! Yay. All right, so Alexa is here today. You guys don't know her, so Alexa, do you want to give a little introduction about yourself?
Of course. So my name is Alexa Del Preti. I am a licensed mental health counselor. I own a private practice on Staten Island called Healthy Mind Mental Health Counseling. And we are a group practice, and we serve all ages, and we have a really nice office space on Victory Boulevard. So yeah. I don't know. That's it.
I could be a test that. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but like I go there and it is beautiful. I do. And it is a beautiful office. It's very the second I walk in, I'm like, all right, I'm good. I'm calm. It's beautiful.
I was very intentional when doing it. I just wanted it to feel like home and comfy, and I love being there.
You could tell it's amazing. I love it.
So
we're so excited to have Alexa on today. We have very exciting news that we'll talk about at the end of the podcast. But for now, you want to do your invalid?
Sure.
We like to start off with the bad and leave off with the good. So we'll do invalid first.
Okay. So my invalid is actually work related. But so I had a very human moment today. Therapists are real people too. I walked out into the waiting room for my 3:00 appointment, and two of my clients were both sitting there, and I was like, why are you both here? And I double booked them by accident, which never happens.
Oh my god.
And I felt so bad, but one of my clients was just like, it's so nice that I want to go for a walk anyway, and she's like, I'll come back on Thursday. So that was my invalid. I was just like, no way. And I felt so bad, but she was so nice and sweet about it, so I was like, okay. So that was my invalid. And then I thought to myself, like, shit, like if my therapist said that to me, I'd be kind of mad.
No, I'm sure it's fine. At least it was nice out.
It was fine. It was fine. But we rescheduled.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so my invalid is that I have another business made by Ro where I tie-dye clothes and I put my designs on them. So I had a street fair yesterday, and I literally wait all year for these things.
Yeah.
And, I have a little tent, I have a pop-up, I have a whole setup, and it was beautiful out yesterday, beautiful, but there was wind. But apparently I was in like the worst spot for the wind, and as soon as I set up my whole table, everything fell off. Whole table, there wasn't a single thing left on my table. Everything fell off. I had to re-put everything back on, okay? Then as we were moving on into the sale, it was probably like, it ends at 5 o'clock, so it was probably like 3 o'clock. Yeah. A gust of wind came and knocked my tent over to the point where it broke. My tent broke. My tent was flying away. It was a nightmare. Like, picture my worst nightmare happened, okay?
Were you by yourself?
I was with my mom. So my mom's freaking out. She's like, oh my God. And people were still shopping in the tent. The tent was coming down, and they're like,
well, your products
looking through the rack,
really good then. That's a testament to your work.
So they literally were like this, and they're like going through it, and I'm like, guys, get out of the tent, please. And they're like,
safety hazard, please remove yourself.
And they're like, yes, we don't care. And I'm like, you need to get out. And I was just so aggravated. Everyone was helping out too, but just some people are so oblivious. They're trying to pay me. I'm like, hello. I'm like, get out of the tent. So, and then I had to pack up and leave early. So I missed out on an hour of the street fair. But I did pretty good though. But it was a nightmare, and I have to get a new tent. So
that's crazy.
Yeah. That's my invalid.
The weather has been insane, and that kind of goes into my invalid. It was the earthquake. I'm just going to explain where I was. So I was doing an 85-year-old's facial during this earthquake. Okay, at my job. Swear to God. So in the part of the facial, you do red light therapy. So they just sit there, and there's a massage bed. So I don't got to do anything. I get it all the time. I'm just sitting there. I'm like, there's chairs like this. I'm waiting for her. All of a sudden, the whole room is shaking. My bowls are shaking. I'm like, what is going on? I'm thinking someone like lives above the store. So I was like, what are they moving? Like, what is happening? They were so loud.
Yeah.
So I get up, and I'm like, are you okay? Like, I'm talking to her. She's not responding to me. And I'm like, she's probably sleeping. So I'm like, am I passing out? Like, I thought I was like fainting because I'm standing up and everything is shaking. She's not reacting. So I go outside. No one's anywhere to be found.
Was anyone working with you in the spot?
Yeah, my boss was there, and I'm like, where is she? What is happening? She comes running in. She's like, did we just have an earthquake? She went outside, which is the worst.
The same thing.
The worst thing to do, but everyone's first reaction.
Outside.
Everyone's like, what is happening?
I needed someone to like validate that I wasn't crazy.
Yeah,
like, something else, like everyone else felt it.
That's what I felt. I was like, I thought I was passing out because nobody was reacting to anything. So she comes running in, and she's like, did we just have an earthquake? I'm like, I guess, like, I don't know. So then, whatever, I'm freaking out. My dad's calling me. He's like, are you okay? So I go back and the 85-year-old just laying there. I'm like,
I would
hey.
check her pulse.
Yeah, no, I saw she was breathing, but of course, I'm like, even when I do her facials, I'm like, oh God. No, so I'm like, are you okay? She's like, yeah, I'm very relaxed right now. I said, we just had an earthquake. I had to tell her because she's like, oh, I did feel something because
she was getting massaged.
The bed vibrates already. So I guess she was like, I thought like it just like whatever, but she's like, I'm very relaxed. So I'm like, all right, good, because her daughter kept calling her phone. So I was like, I just want to let you know. We just had an earthquake.
At least she was relaxed.
Another testament to your work that she was so relaxed.
I know.
She didn't even realize there was an
earthquake. Promote that.
Look at you guys. You work through weather. It doesn't stop you.
Yeah. Right? It's so, whatever. Yeah, but then we had the aftershocks. It's just like, what is happening? The solar eclipse that was barely a thing. Anyway, I don't know. That's my imbalance.
It has been pretty crazy.
Crazy. It's like the world is ending.
Yeah.
Can't make it up.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully not. What's your valid?
My valid, well, one, obviously being here today with you guys. I feel like I've always been so excited to like see what you guys do and our partnership that we're gonna talk about later. Like that's so exciting to me. So I really appreciate like you asking me to be here.
We appreciate you.
But the weather for sure. I feel like I woke up a new person today. Like literally new personality. I texted my mom and I was like, I literally feel reborn. She's like, isn't this great? I was like, yes, even though I'm watching it from my window, but it just felt like good.
Yeah. I know, because your seasonal depression is just like defrosted.
100%. And like,
it.
I hate taking the garbage out at work. Like, I had to walk to the dumpsters. I was just like, I can't wait to go take the garbage out today because I just wanted a little bit of like sunlight and warmth. So
I know.
That's my valid.
Yeah.
Love that.
My valid is that I got boba tea I haven't had it in so long. And, I don't really, so I don't like boba itself, but I like the popping boba.
Me too.
So shout out to Lil M. She is like the best boba tea, the best store. It's like the cutest ever. She had one on Highland, it closed. So this one's down like on Manor Road.
That's
over there.
right next to my spa because I saw it today and I pointed it out to my friends.
You have to go.
I said, oh my God, since when does Little M have a store here? Right across the street. Swear to God, Little M's bubble tea.
She's amazing.
But we know her, and I was telling them, I was like,
really?
like she, whatever, we know her. That's so weird.
The owner's awesome.
I've never tried it.
Yeah.
I never tried it either,
so boba,
but she's nice.
I don't know what to get, and I'm not really like a fruit girly, so I went in there. It sounds really weird for people that don't know boba. I get like a blue yogurt drink, but it tastes like a blue Hawaiian slushy but melted. Figure it like that, and then lychee popping boba.
Okay.
You ever have like a lychee martini or iced tea?
Lychee.
Yeah, that's what I get. That's my order.
Sounds good.
Yeah, it's very refreshing.
Yeah.
And I get it more like in the springtime because it's weird like to have that. You know, it's like a very summer drink.
It.
Yeah. So that's my boba order, and that's my valid. I haven't had it in so long.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
My valid is that I started journaling again, which I'm very excited about because I was journaling and then I stopped. I got back into it because I found an app that I like, so I've been using that.
What's it called?
Journal. It's literally on your phone.
Oh,
it's
really?
literally just on your phone. Yeah,
Like
and it reminds me to write. Yeah, it's on. It already comes on your phone.
Wait, you know
like
what?
that.
Is it with the new update?
I think so.
Because I just updated my work phone after I have like the oldest like iPhone for my work phone, and I updated the other day, and I think I saw it before, and I was like, when did I put this app on here?
Yeah, so I was like, I've always had it, but I never
funny.
clicked on it. I was like, let me just see, because I like to actually like physically write.
I know. So therapeutic.
But it's been like more of like work to me. I feel like to actually get the book, get the thing.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'm always on my phone, like, and then whenever I was just feeling something, I'll just pull it out and start writing, and it's been helping me. And then for my physical health, I've been going on walks for the last few days because of this weather. Today I went walking around Bloomingdale Park. It was very nice. I love this weather, so.
I know. I hope it's the.
Wait, is that where you were today? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I thought you said Bloomingdale store.
Did I? Maybe. I probably did, but no.
Oh, you're like, I'm walking around Bloomingdale's. I'm like, oh,
Shit
yourself.
Bloomingdale Park.
I feel like you probably added an S because I think it's a Staten Island thing
Bloomingdale's.
too.
I'm at Bloomingdale's.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was
probably.
laughing when you guys wrote like healthy minds, and I was like, that's probably like
Healthy minds.
Yeah, that's a Staten Island thing. Costco's.
Costco's, yeah.
Did you ever see Erica
That's very
Alessandro's
true.
video?
Yeah.
He always talks about that.
Yeah,
That's
so
very
funny.
true. But with journaling and the phone, I just remembered I used to always do valid points, we'd call it. So whenever like I'm just thinking, I'm like, oh, that's a cute thought or whatever. And we used to write valid points and notes. I haven't done that in so long.
I could probably use some of the things I write. I should
Yeah.
yeah.
It's good for
definitely.
content, like valid points
And
for us. Yeah, and apply to implement.
Apply it.
Yeah, definitely. So you want to get into the questions?
Yes, we're gonna ask you a couple questions just to learn more about you and what you do. So first and foremost, what made you start Healthy Mind?
Honestly, the pandemic. Like, I don't know if I would have done this like as quickly in my career as I did. But at the time of like in 2020, I was working for a nonprofit organization full time in the city. And I was like a mental health specialist. So we worked with like people with developmental disabilities and like co-occurring disorders, like mental health related. So it was a very cool job, but it was a very tiring job. And I was burning out. And then I was working for a private practice on Staten Island part-time, like 20-something hours a week. So it really wasn't part-time. It was a lot. So I was working a lot, and I loved the private practice world so much, but I always wanted to, like, really get my experience in the beginning of my career. But unfortunately, COVID, because we were funded by Medicaid, they took away a lot of our funding during the pandemic. So we had, like, a 300-person layoff in my company. Oh, wow. And my department was just like, it was like an added department, so it was like not necessary, I guess. So we all got laid off. So it was really scary. It was like very uncertain times. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. I went full time with the part-time job that I was working, and then like after like a year in of all of that, I was like, I've been working from home by myself pretty much like for a year. Like, why not just do this by myself? So once I had a therapy session with my prior therapist, and she's like, why don't you just open up your own thing? And I'm like, what? Like, I was like only working, I think I was licensed only like 3 years at the time. Not even. Wow. I just got licensed. So I was in the field for 3 years, but I like just got my license that year. So I was like, there's no way. Like, I can't own my own business. Like, I'm so young. Like, this is like a dream of mine, like down the road. I thought like when I'm like 50.
I know, right? It hits you so soon.
Yeah, it's crazy. But it just all kind of happens, and I just went for it, and things just really aligned for me, and like I am so happy. That was the biggest blessing ever, was getting laid off.
I need to ask, now that you say that.
You always say that.
Yeah. But what was your first step, I must say? Because you have your own, office and everything.
It was I had a friend at the time who did own her I still have a friend. But, at the time, one of my really good friends, she just opened up her own practice virtually, like even before the pandemic. It was a virtual only practice. And she did coaching and stuff like that. So she was my go-to through the whole process. And I remember my therapist was like, I don't know what you have to do, but like, here's 2 things I know you need. And I'm like, okay. So I looked into it. I applied for like all these like things that I needed to do. And then my friend had coached me through it. So she set me up, and I mean, the process went really quick, but the pandemic really changed the tone for mental health, especially private practice, because they made it so much easier to own your own virtual practice. So in my head, in the beginning, I'm like, I'm only going to be virtual. I can't afford a space. Like I didn't know what that was going to look like. And then it just kind of aligns where the person I used to work for was like, do you want to rent a room? And I'm like, yeah. And I was able to be in person. No one was in person at the time. So, like, that also helped me because I wasn't scared to be in person. I really wanted to get back to the office. Yeah. My mental health, I needed to be out. Everyone else was still virtual. So, it honestly gave me a leg up to be the only in-person practice. That's really very true. Yeah. And my stuff just grew really quickly. So yeah, I got like a social media person. That was like one of the investments I did like really early on, because I was like, I gotta put myself out there. Yeah. I mean, I wasn't making a lot of money like at first, but it was just like really worth it. And yeah, it was a really cool journey, but I don't know. I can't imagine like doing anything different.
Yeah, it seems like it was all meant for you. Like the timing and everybody obviously like helping you out, giving you advice and everything just falling in your lap. It's like, okay, this is what you're meant to do.
Yeah, it did. Like, it was scary, and I kept like questioning myself.
It sounds scary. So I'm like, what was your first
Oh my God,
step?
It was so scary. And for the first like 6 months, because I take insurance obviously, so I'm working with insurance companies, and I know nothing about business. So I'm like trying to learn and buy these programs and like different trainings to teach
learn
myself.
As you go.
Right. Yes. Ask questions, like have people coach me, and every day for 6 months I would come home with like anxiety, like I'm gonna get arrested, I'm doing something wrong, like I'm filing insurance claims wrong, or the IRS is gonna knock on my door and be like, what are you doing? So it took a while to feel like, oh, I got this.
Oh my God, it's so funny because it's so true. Thank you for being so honest about the whole process.
I always say that to my mom, because I'm like, my mom literally helps us with like our taxes and stuff, because I'm like, what? The IRS gonna come for us? We're not paying. Like, she's like, no, 100%. You're fine. Because I thought like we had to do this like months ago. I'm like, what are we doing? And she's like, no, relax.
Yeah. Tax.
Because nobody teaches you these things.
No, I say all the time. Like, first of all,
It's crazy.
like the business stuff itself, like I feel like in college, like you don't know where your life's gonna go. You pick a major.
It's very generic.
Some people are lucky to know. Like, I really did go into college knowing what I wanted to do, but not where it was gonna go to like today. But I feel like everyone, like your prereqs that you take, like your first 2 years should be, business should be in there somewhere. Like,
definitely.
It's so important because you just don't know what you're gonna need in the
We
future.
all have to file taxes. We all have to, like, we need this knowledge in life.
And you trust everyone. Like, I always say this, I trust my accountant. Just like, I know nothing. He can tell me, go to the moon and back and like give me $9,000. And I'm like, okay, like you're telling me that's what I need to do because I have no idea.
Literally.
You sign documents. You don't know shit. Like,
No.
you just trust that they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Which I've gone to a lot of accountants that didn't know what they were doing.
Oh God, that's scary.
Yeah. But anyway, that's my long-winded how I got to be healthy mind.
Thank you so much for that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Next question. When did you decide to take on the career as a therapist in general?
Okay, that's a good question. I feel like this is the most cliche answer ever, but I feel like it just like was something I was born to do. Like,
That's not cliche.
Like you always helping people?
Yeah, I was always, since I was younger, I always liked to work with people. I always like had like I don't know, my heart was always like very drawn to like working with people with special needs. Like, I remember being in 5th grade, we had a 5th grade dance, and the special ed class, like, they weren't dancing at our 5th grade dance, and I like made all my friends like go over to them and like start dancing with them, and I got an award at graduation for it because I just like never liked when people like were sad or left out, and I always like wanted to like give that to someone in whatever way possible. And then I got older and life happens, and I went through my own trauma and grief and things, and I still felt like that need to like turn my trauma, my like pain into helping people. So I was very confused in high school. I always wanted to be a teacher. That's honestly, growing up, I was going to be a teacher.
Yeah.
I loved kids, and I remember being like in like my junior year, and I was going through it, like heavy anxiety, depression. And I remember I said to my mom, I'm going to drop out of high school. She's like, no, you're not. And I was always a really good student. So this is like very unlike characteristic. And I'm like, I don't know what I want to do with my life. The world sucks. Life sucks. I just don't want to do anything. And she's like, you're not dropping out of school. I started going to therapy. And my therapist at the time was a grief counselor. And she ran a overnight, like a weekend sleepaway camp for just like one weekend for kids who were grieving. Oh, wow. And she's like, you might not know what you want to do, but I want you to be a volunteer and come as like a counselor in training. And I was like, but I'm not going to the camp. Like, I'm going to help. Like, I wanted to be like do the arts and crafts, like be with the kids. Yeah. I didn't want to be a camp counselor. I was pretty old. I was like 16. She's like, no, you're going to be like part of the team. And I went to like trainings for like a week with all these clinicians, and I saw what the work they did. And like, I was like, wow, like this is empowering. And I felt like that. I remember coming home and telling my mom, like, Mom, I'm going to be a therapist. And she's like, okay. And I didn't even do the camp yet. It was just like the training of like what to do when like the kids are sad, and like just so many really cool things. So I did that weekend, and I was set. I'm like, I'm going to be a therapist. I went to college, and my school like just started a trauma counseling program. And I was a psych major, declared psych major. And one of my professors who like taught a million classes while I was there, I had another anxiety depression phase, and I was going to drop out of college. And I went up to him and I'm like, I think I'm going to leave this school and I'm going to just change. I want to be a nurse. I told him, I'm like, I'm going to just be a nurse. And he's like, no, you're not. And I'm like, yeah, he was my advisor too. And I was like, no, I'm going to like leave. Like, they didn't have a nursing program, and I was in Philly, and I'm going to go home. I'm going to go to CSI or whatever. And I'm going to become a nurse. And he's like, okay. And he's like, I'm going to give you some paperwork. I want you to read through it. And then you let me know if you still want to go be a nurse. Aww. And it was about the program that he started. And I was like, okay. And like for 3 days I had the papers like signed, and he would ask me in class, like, are you going to do it? And I'm like, no. And then eventually, like the last day that I had to sign up, he's like, are you going to do it? I'm like, yeah. And I loved every single second of it. Wow. So it really found me.
Wow. Yeah.
It really did. Seems like you have a lot of like mentors in your life, like growing up that really like made you to be where you are
Absolutely.
today.
And, like, I'm very
awesome.
relational, like, even with my therapy work, like, I'm a very relational therapist. Like, I just think that...
You're becoming that for somebody else.
Yeah, like, your connections and everything that you do, like, I'm not afraid to... I don't know everything. Even the position I'm in right now, I don't know shit about shit. I always say that. And I always reach out to people that I know I can, like, trust and, like, people who have guided me and, like, I want to be that for people now, and I do have people that will come to me for those things, and it's nice to be able to give that back in some way too, like that mentorship. Like, people text me constantly, and it's funny because my sister's always like, your phone doesn't stop all day. Like, it doesn't matter. It's like someone that I haven't talked to in 2 years, like, Lex, I need this, like, and I just will never ever not give someone my knowledge, resources. I know someone that can help you because it just comes back to you, and people have been there for me for sure. So
I love that.
Yeah,
you have a really good support system.
Yeah,
very good.
I've been very, very fortunate, honestly.
That's very nice.
That's my long. I'm a storyteller.
No,
so.
You're good. This is a podcast.
I told you guys, like, this
highlights.
is literally, like, I felt like I was coming on Watch What Happens Live. Like, I was like, okay, so excited.
Good. Okay.
It's a podcast. You're allowed to talk.
So, Chris that works for us, he's going to school for social work. So I want to ask you, do you have tips for people that are going to school to become a therapist?
Yeah. Well, I feel like I can't relate to a lot of the people now because I think the world is so different. Even just the training and like everything's so different in that clinical aspect of people who are like coming into the field. But I will say that it is hard work. It is the most rewarding work, and it is, like I said, I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. But in grad school, they like preach about taking care of yourself. Like, and I know even today's world, like self-care is just like thrown all the time, but like I remember hearing those words in my grad program, like self-care, what are you doing for self-care? And I'd be like, shut up. Like, you're giving me 95 assignments. Like, I have to do all these clinical hours. I worked 2 jobs when I was in grad school. Like, people, like, most people are not just like students. Like, a lot of people have to work full-time or work part-time. So it was like, what's self-care? And like now, like, I'm like, oh, once I'm done with school, like things lighten up, things get easier. You have more time for yourself. No, because life happens. We get older, we have more responsibilities. But I've found that like where that self-care actually, like what that looks like. And it's so different than I think what we see advertised all the time of what self-care should be. So self-care, 100%, really trying to take care of yourself. Do all the hard stuff while you're in grad school because you get challenged the most, but you have the most support and you have like the most opportunities to work with different populations, like try different things, like things that scare you. So I always felt like I didn't challenge myself as much because I was like, I want to work with kids. I want to work with grief. Like I knew everything that I thought I wanted to do. And now like 6 years later, I barely work with kids anymore. I love working with adults. So I wish I had more opportunities in my training to like get really good at that while I had support,
Yeah. I want to ask you too, because you mentioned like self-care. What do you do for self-care? Like, do you have any advice? Because you said it looks different for some people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like, it's not about, like, how much time you do something. I think it's just giving yourself the commitment to making the time. So, like, self-care could be 15 minutes. It could be going outside. I sometimes have only 10 minutes between a session. Like, just making sure I ground myself with, like, the outside world, right? Like, breathing fresh air, even if it's not a nice day, because I know we think we can only do that when it's nice, but just taking those like little moments. Sometimes it's really just like coming home from work and I'm so drained from talking and like being with people all day, of not calling people or being silent in the car or listening to something that I know is gonna like give me a little bit more energy, like just those little things, you know, like taking my vitamins every single day, being able to make my workouts or like move my body in some kind of way, like just those kind of things, you know. But also like the mental component of it, of like being compassionate with yourself, giving yourself grace, like that stuff, it's hard because in this work, like you never feel like you're doing enough. You never feel like you're leaving and you're like, okay, like this is, that person like is going to be fine, because you never really know, like we work with different spectrums of different things, but there's days where I'm just like, I worry, I feel sad, I feel heavy. So it's just really like the mental part of like, I say, and my advice to anyone that's becoming a therapist, that's like in the new parts of like seeing clients, is like you showing up and giving a safe space and being consistent and like being someone can trust, like that alone is just huge. Like
Yeah.
the skills and all the other like technical things, like that stuff comes with time, but just being there, not giving up on someone, even if they want to give up, like that is such a basic but most important thing.
Yeah, I'm coming up with more questions as you're talking.
Yeah.
I need to ask you, like, how do you separate, like, they say when you're a therapist, you know, some things you're going to take home with you.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you cope with that? How do you cope with, you know, leaving work at work and, you know, thinking about Alexa when you're home? Like, how do you have that separation?
I was wondering the same thing.
It's hard. It's definitely hard. I think obviously over time, like you just kind of, I feel like the pandemic was hard because there was no bookend to like your day. And I think any profession, we can all say the same thing. You would like work in your bedroom or like work at your kitchen table and then have dinner 10 minutes later. And it's like that transition of like work and life was very blurred. There was no really definitive end. So I think like that experience taught me how much I needed to make that very clear and set those boundaries. But I'll be honest, like I said, like I'm an emotional person. I'm a sensitive person.
Me too.
I will have sessions and when my client leaves, like I'll cry sometimes. Like I will feel it. Like I pray for my clients at night sometimes because it just feels, and I'm not saying that to make
you're like an empath.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that to make myself sound like an angelic person. Like there's times I also leave and I'm like, geez, that person just took everything out of me, you know? Like it happens, it's normal. But I think like for me, I need to like allow myself to feel, because if I try to push it down and like act like it didn't affect me, like that's just not real.
You're a human too, like you said, like it's normal,
right? And I think like when people are questioning and have that interest in like our work and like how we do that, it's because you probably think like that's hard, right? But like everyone has to do it in some capacity of their life. Like you have to have a hard day and then like go give facials and be in this like nice mindfulness moment, but like you could be having a shitty day, but you have to create that experience for your client, right? Exactly. That they're going to be relaxed, they're going to feel like you're warm and welcoming. So that's hard, you know?
Really hard.
But I definitely, my dog is like a big one for me. Like my dog, like sometimes I'll come home and I'll just be with my dog and like it's just so comforting. Even like because I can't really talk about anything when I come home, that could be really hard. So I have my clinical friends, or like times where I will call a friend who is a therapist or like someone I work with and just be like, I need to just talk about this like situation real quick and like let it off my chest, which we can do and that's ethical. But you know, we don't talk about people's names and stuff, but like you can.
You started the therapy social too, right? Do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So
because that goes into what
100%. I was a solo practice owner the first 2 years of Healthy Mind. So meaning that it was just me and I had one office room, like one room. I did everything by myself. So there was no colleagues. And like I said, I went back and did this very early into people going back into like offices after the pandemic or during it. So I was completely alone. Like there was no colleagues and I was used to that. Like before the pandemic, like I worked in a big office where I had someone sitting next to me all the time, or I worked in an office where like in between sessions you can kind of talk and throw things out there. So I felt very isolated. And I did have, you know, this mentor and I was getting supervision and stuff from her, but she had taken me on a retreat that was for therapists and people who were like business, like practice owners, and it was in Utah. It was a very eye-opening, amazing experience. So we did it together and it was just like very spiritual, very like fulfilling and refreshing. And I was just around so many people that were doing so much more than just the one-to-one like therapy, like in office all day. And I had the idea there. Like I was like there and I loved it. Like I haven't had that environment since I was in like grad school where you were like with a bunch of different therapists talking about different things, ideas. And I was so empowered and excited when I came home. I'm like, I'm doing it. Like it was kind of an idea I had for a little bit, but that like really pushed me. So what I'm talking about is I host a monthly therapist social. It's called the Therapist Social. And I started almost 2 years ago. Where we go to dinner once a month at a local restaurant and we just talk and we have a meal and we share ups, you know, highs and lows of our job. We talk about clinical cases if anyone needs some kind of like guidance. We talk about like just advancing your career and like what you can do, what's out there, what are your options, but it's open to anyone. So in the clinical field, it's open to anyone from grad students to doctors, you know, like we don't discriminate on, you don't have to be a licensed therapist, you don't have to be working in the field for like 10 years. Like I want people to see as a young little clinician, like what is out there and also have people they can connect with. So it's just very refreshing. It's so like we look forward to it.
We're gonna tell Chris about it.
Yeah, oh my God, I would love for him. I'll definitely, I'll definitely give you info. So we do that. We just hosted our first like retreat. So I did like a 3-hour retreat that we did at the gym. So we did some working out. We did yoga. We made vision boards.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's just like it's a networking event, but I don't like to call it that because it really is just about like building relationships. And we're real people too. So sometimes we sit and we bitch about our kids and our husbands and, we talk about the real life stuff too and like how that fits into being a clinician. But now we've built this like network. I think there's like 60 different therapists on Staten Island that now have come and, it's usually like a 10 to 15 person event, like who comes. But over time, we've had 60 different people come, and we have people recurring come every month. So it's so nice. But that like
great.
that's myself. Like that's my self-care. That's what helps me to like your people. Like I'm such a people person. Like I need to be talking about it. I need to like if I need something or if someone needs something, like that connection is like what gets me through for sure.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
And therapists need therapy too.
Yeah,
so
100%.
I love that you keep saying we're people too. Oh, we're humans too. I feel like that needs to be a shirt. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's so true. And like I know obviously that's like we're actually
it's
humans.
true though, because like as like the outsider, like you like as me going to my therapist, it's like you have to remember that they're also going through their own things and they're probably also going to therapy, you know what I mean? But it's like in that 55 minutes you're like they're not real. Like they're just
they know everything. They
know everything about everybody.
Life. Like they have even if they haven't gone through it, they know exactly. It's you really embody hard. Like this, and that's why it's really like hard sometimes because like you have to be that figure for someone, but then like this is how I am in my therapy sessions. Like I am me. I'm like the minute that you walk into my door, like I'm me. I'm authentic. Like I try to just. I don't want anyone to feel that way, that like I'm like the knower of all things and like my life's perfect and I know how to communicate properly in my relationships all the time. And it's not about that, it's about the tools I have to help you.
Yeah, I love that.
And there's times where we'll talk about things and I'm just like, like it sucks when my husband does that too. I understand how you feel, so I really do. I think the modern therapists are so different than how I was brought up as a therapist. And that's why I love my practice now. And I have clinicians that are working with me that embody that same thing because it shouldn't be what we've learned is like be that kind of embodied, like you're that like very disconnected human. Like you have to kind of put that front on. And I'm just like, how would you relate to someone that doesn't tell you anything about them?
Right.
Like,
I love that you said that because honestly, that was something that scared me about going to therapy is like, I didn't want, like, I was so happy that I found your place because I didn't want, no offense, people out there, but like an older person sitting there with a notepad and just staring at me. Yeah. I was like, I can't do that. Like, I don't, they don't relate to me. But when I, walked into my first one, she was young, whatever. I know we can't talk about much. But I'm like being careful what I say. Okay. But it felt like like I feel like she's my friend. Like I go there and I'm like, this girl is my friend. Yeah. Like, and she's the same way as you, like, relating, and I love that. And I love that about your place. I feel like you guys are all like that. You're young, like-minded people. I love that. Yeah, and I really wanted, like, it took a while to find my team. Like, I filed to do a group practice and, like, had everything set up for a year, and I was interviewing and I was trying to find the team that I felt like we would fit that way. Like, I wanted to be like, oh, if I can't take you, like, here's my my 3 clinicians that are very much just like me, Not that I'm the best therapist in the world, but, you know, after a while, like, people do want to, like, they get referrals and word of mouth, and, it's the hardest thing for me is turning people away. So I loved, like, I was so fortunate to find my team because I could be like, listen, like, they are exactly who I want them to, who I would make my sister see and my mom, like, so I'm so happy that you feel that way. And it's so nice to hear that. But so we're people too. Well, going off of that, any tips for people that go to therapy or are thinking about going to therapy? Like what's something that, would push them to go or something that might be like a misconception that you could elaborate on?
I think what you just said, like that stereotypical persona that a therapist has, I think the cons, I'm a very anti-social media person sometimes, but the pros of social media is that right now, if you like go and you look at like therapists and stuff, like everyone is marketing exactly this. Like we want to market, we're modern therapists, like we're cool therapists, like, we're people, like we want therapy to be viewed that way and comfortable. And I always say, like, my favorite clients are male clients because most of the time they come in there because someone was like, go to therapy. And if you don't, then
the reason why we're here.
They're usually not as open. Not all men, of course, but a lot of the ones that we work with. We live on Staten Island. We work with a lot of first responders in our office. Like, it's a very different mentality, I think, that men have sometimes. And my favorite thing ever is, like, when they come and they're like, yeah, I don't really believe in this, but, like, I have to come because blah, blah, blah. And then, like, towards the end of a session, they're just like, it feels really nice to talk about things. And I'm like, this is just, there's nothing scary about it, you know? So my advice would be open. Be as honest as you possibly can. Being vulnerable is so scary. But at the end of the day, like, you're doing yourself so good by just, like, being there, being open, like, trying to trust the process, right? Because you're also, like, empowering yourself. Like, you're building confidence and, like, I got this. Like, I think that the decision to go to therapy is because you want something better, right? Like, you're looking for a better version of you. You want something in your life to get better. Maybe you went through something that, like, you need to heal from, right? And I think, like, if you don't just at least try, you're doing yourself such an injustice. I know that it could be intimidating to find the right fit, which is hard, but I think, like I said, nowadays with social media and, like, the way that we market ourselves in the therapy world, it's really nice to see that, like, natural, genuine, authentic kind of personality showing up, and then sitting down and being like, oh, okay, like, it is kind of like a friend, you know?
Yeah, I love it. I was honestly really scared. Like, I was one of those people
what
really
pushed
scared.
you? I'm, like, curious.
I just, like, well, for years, I always said I needed it just because I always, I went through a lot, you know, we talk about it, but, I finally just was like, I need to do this because, like you said, there's this one spot in my life that I'm not over and I need to get over it. And I'm sick of telling my friends about it because I know they're probably sick of hearing it. So I'm like, I need to go to somebody, just talk about it and let it out. And it's been so rewarding too. Like you said, it feels like I'm doing something to better myself, you know? But yeah, it was scary, you know, because I was like, I don't want to go. Everyone that I knew that went to therapy went through like 5 or 6 therapists. And I'm like, oh, I don't want to go through this or whatever. I'm like, I'm so nervous. And I used to do it online at first. And that was also like, I don't know. I didn't love it online. I was like, I really want to just be in person because I didn't feel like that connection. And then once I went in person, I'm like, wow, like it's such especially your office, it's amazing. Different vibe, like you know, you just walk in, you're calm, everyone's so like just relaxed, and you're like, okay, and it's an hour, and I just love it. I don't know. I don't know.
I feel like what I always say to people is, like, you go through what you go through in life. You don't get to pick your cards that you're dealt. You don't get to pick what happens to you. You don't get to pick the family that you're born into. So, like, with all that said, there's also, you don't get born. You're not born, and then you get handed, like, an instruction manual of, like, if you go through this trauma, if your parents get divorced, like, you don't have a book that tells you what to do, right? And even the ones that are out there, like, you know, it takes a lot for you to be able to do that yourself. So when people talk about, you know, things that they've gone through or things that they feel they struggle with, like, my answer is always, like, what else can you possibly do that's going to change this? Because if you don't have someone with, like, the professional skills, like a doctor, right? Like, you can walk around with a broken foot for, like, a week and be like, my foot's broken, ow, it hurts. Okay, you might be able to, like, make it feel a little better by putting ice or, like, putting your own gauze or something on it. But, like, at the end of the day, like, you need to go to the person that knows everything that they have to do for that foot. And therapy is the same exact way. Like, it is... It's the stigma around it is just so infuriating to me. Yeah. Because a lot of times people will say something and be like, I'm not crazy. And I'm like, no, you're human.
I say that every time.
You're not. Or the sorry for, you know, it's having emotions. Like, I have it constantly all the time. And I just, I feel so, like, because I'm someone that loves therapy, and I was at a place years ago when I was a teenager that I also thought therapy was a joke. Why would I talk to a stranger who doesn't know anything about me? I used to tell my mom all the time, like, she doesn't know me. Why would I do that? But it is just life-changing, and it's just nice to have that space, especially, like, one of my clients said this today to me, and it was, like, really, we were talking about something that I know, like, no one in her life knows about. She'd never talked about it out loud, and she's like, you're my mirror to my thoughts. And, like, as much as I know that, like, hearing someone say it, she's like, and right now, even the things that I, like, think all the time and things that, like, I'm going through that it's in my everyday reality, I'm saying it out loud and we're talking about it.
You're processing it.
Right. And that's exactly what it's about, because that heaviness, she left my office and, like, I think a couple of pounds were lifted off her chest
100%.
because now it's just there and she doesn't have to carry that much the rest of the day.
Yeah,
you know?
100%.
So I'm proud of you for doing it. I know that it's so hard to make the decision to do it, but like we do so many other risky, scary things in life that could kill us, could harm us, can make us sick.
100%.
And I don't think this is, unless you have a really unethical therapist that traumatizes you, this is something that really can only make you better.
Definitely. And also, I just thought of this. I think Chris, our social media manager and friend, he is becoming a therapist. And I think he also inspired me to go. Because he would sit here on the podcast and like we did a reflection episode of, from a year ago. And a year ago, I was the lowest of low, and we're looking back at it, and he's telling me this advice, and I'm like, okay, he can't be my therapist, right. But I'm like, I wish he would be. The things he was saying, I was like, okay, he's actually hitting me, because like, obviously, me and Rosie talk in every single episode, but it's like, you're not trained, I'm not trained to give her advice,
that
but he is.
That simple skill of reflecting something in a way that like it's your exact words and what you basically like. We're getting
he's validating,
valid. But we're like hearing you, and we're using our skills to give you back what you just 100%. Said, and to see a different perspective or to put it into words. Like my favorite thing ever is when a client's like, you hit the nail on the head. That's exactly how I feel. I couldn't think about how to put it that way.
Yes.
And that's exactly what we do. It's not brain surgery, but it is something that we have like such deep empathy and understanding to try to help you to see it.
Definitely.
We don't give advice. We don't tell you what to do. If you go to your therapist looking to be like, tell me what I should do, don't go to therapy for that.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah. I must say, because I think people go there with an expectation of that.
That's kind of what I thought was going to happen. I'm like, okay, I'm going to hear. I knew I would hear like a different perspective and like, for them to make me realize things. Mm-hmm. But my first session, am I allowed to say? I don't know.
Yes, you could.
Okay.
First of all, disclaimer, you can share anything about your own personal therapy experience. Okay. It's if a clinician shares about your experience.
Good. All right. But no, because the first session, I remember she was, like just like the introduction, tell me about yourself, why are you here, blah, 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 all these questions. And then I would stop talking. And then she'd just be like, and I'm like,
silence everyone hates.
Yeah, I'm like, and I'm really bad in silence. So I'm like, okay. And she's like, what else? And I'm like, I don't know. She's like, think about it. And I would say something else, and then I'd go off about that. She just nodded at me. Like, the first day was nothing, and I'm like, oh, no, I can't do this. I can't do this. But then at the end of the hour, I'm like, oh, my God. Like, I didn't realize how much was truly bothering me. Yeah. Because you don't, you go through one thing, and that's all you're focused on, and that's what you're talking about. But then that one thing is another thing, is another thing, is another thing. It's a snowball effect. Yep. And you go back to things that happened, or I did when I was like 8 years old. Right. I'm like, what am I talking about? Like, I'm 24.
How are you doing this? What kind of spell do you have on me?
And so it was awesome. And I am honestly so grateful, like, for your place. And, I'm just so much better.
Well, it's important for you to share your experience. Yeah. It's obviously like amazing. I can talk about therapy all the time. Some people don't like to talk about their therapy experience or have others know that they're in therapy, but you also putting this out there, like, because it was hard. You do that. Like, this is what you represent, right?
Exactly.
And like
that's another thing. Right. That's another thing. I'm like, I'm preaching therapy. Yeah. I don't go.
Yeah.
So that we gotta get this one in here.
Listen, mental health is not just therapy, and that's 100%. Another thing. Like, talking about it, doing things for your mental health, it doesn't have to just be therapy.
Yeah, 100%.
But I think you probably challenge other things enough where you're like, there's something else that I could be getting, or something's missing. Definitely. But I think, and I hope that my clinician that you go to hears this, because we don't always get an opportunity, I think, as therapists to always hear the feedback. And it's so nice when clients do tell us, like, and even if something's not going well, which would be my other suggestion for anyone that is in therapy or wanting to do therapy, is like the honesty portion of it is like, you don't hurt our feelings if you're honest about what you don't like or something that like rubbed you the wrong way or again, we want to be ethical and we should never hurt you and we should never make things worse. But there are times where, like, just because I think that was a good session or I said something profound, you might leave being like, why the fuck did she say that to me? And I love when my clients come back that tell me, like, when you said this last week, like, I kind of thought about it. I didn't click with that. It made me feel a little weird, or I left and I was like really having a hard day. That's important for me to know. That's important for us to know, because we can gauge like where we're at with you instead of ghosting us or just, you know, pretending nothing was wrong because you want to be like the best client. Like, we are not looking for the best client. Like, you don't have to be A+ as a therapist, as a client. We want you to just be real and honest because we cannot truly help you if you're not. Like, we don't get to watch you all day and like see everything. It's only self-report, you know?
Yeah, that's true.
So,
sometimes I'm like, should I tell her this? But I'm like, I have to tell her this.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes I'm like, she's
100%.
gonna be mad at me.
And we know when you're holding back, so it's just better off to say it because we can just work through it.
Silence is deadly.
Yeah.
They'll get it out of you.
But it's powerful.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
Well, I'm happy for you.
Thank you. I appreciate
Well, thank you for being so honest about the whole process, about everything. You are so amazing. I really just must say that. But what is your favorite quote, theory, or saying that, you know, maybe you give advice to your clients or that you go by?
So I have two, like one's serious and one's not so serious. So on a daily basis, and if you know me or if you work with me, I'm always walking around saying everything is figure outable. And I really do live by that. Like, I think you can go through whatever in life and we always experience like big things, then we can experience little minor inconveniences, and sometimes it's those minor inconveniences or things that like put us over the edge, and sometimes we react. And I think I've developed that ability to just be like, everything's figure outable. And it might not be today, it might not be tomorrow, it might not have like a very like linear path of how you're gonna figure it out or how it's gonna get a little better, but like there's always something or someone that like there's something you can do, there's someone that can be there, someone you could reach out to. So like I just swear by that. And it could be the smallest thing from like you accidentally mess something up or broke like whatever, or something big. Like I really believe that like you can figure it out. Like it's your ability to be able to figure how that's gonna go. Like life does, like we can't just expect things to just work out. Like you create it, you know? So everything is figure outable. And today I actually posted this quote because it was inspired in a clinical session, but it's something I live by too. And that's like, life is temporary. Everything in life is temporary, right? Everything around you, the joy, the pain, people, like they're temporary. And that's sad. And it sounds like really like,
it's true.
That's really depressing. But with that said, like it helps you to accept like that reality and also be valuing those experiences differently. Like it could be a relationship, right? We're heartbroken over a relationship ending or something like that, losing your job, like things happen, right? And it feels like, oh my God, I'm never going to recover from this. Or like, this is just going to hurt forever. But like that process was put there for a reason for you. Like there's growth in that. And I don't believe everything in life happens for a reason, which I know that sounds like it, but I do feel like your needs are like you get certain needs met by experiences and losses, and you have to look for it. So even though it does sound sad, the temporary state of things, if you accept that early on, you can see things as like, okay, like this relationship ended. It wasn't meant to be here for me, but what did I gain from that? Even if it wasn't something super positive, I still grew. So I now take that with me to the next situation, you know, like that's how I really do feel about it. So those are my two like ways I live my life.
That's a really good mindset on life in general. Like I was looking back at our gratitude episode and you know how important gratitude is, and I said in there, because I had a couple people in my life like screw me over, but now I have a different mentality on it. I'm like, I'm thankful for the lessons that they taught me, and now I'm smarter and better than I ever was before. And that's a huge, you know, that's a great mindset to have, especially it's really hard when, you know, a friend does you dirty, but like that's something that, you know, you carry with you. And that really helped me a lot, that mentality.
Yeah, it's hard. And like I've gone through the dark trauma. I've gone through the grief. Like, you know, it's not just like the superficial things that I feel that about. You know, I think like when you do lose things early in life, you do realize that lens is kind of like, oh shit, like anything could be lost at any moment.
That's me too.
But it can scare the crap out of you and make you not live your life, or it can make you realize I have to appreciate when the things are in my life, right? And like whatever I can take from them. And then I do have to move on, or we lose people, or, you know, things just change. But it also can open up different things for you that could be so much better. You just can't see it because you're so hurt and they're blinded by like the negative side of those things. So I try to live that way. I'm obviously not perfect. I'm human, but.
The whole thing with grief too. Like I'm just saying, I lost my mom's entire side of the family, which was my side of the family. But me and my mom, you know, everyone makes fun of us because we're like, oh, the weekend's here. Let's go. Let's get in our car. Let's go here. Let's go there. We're driving all around Jersey, hitting stores. We're like booking vacations. Me and my mom have like the same vibe of like just wanting to do everything at once, and that totally makes sense. Like we try to make the most out of our life, but because it's whatever, you go through something bad in life, we always say something good has to come out of it. So that
you create it.
we create it.
Create the good.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. So I totally relate with you on that. But let's see.
Question.
Oh yeah.
So
duh. How did I get this one?
We're really no, I'm just kidding.
Another thing you do and started is a Stronger You. So tell us about that. What you did, how you started it, why you started it.
What that's all about.
What is it?
So I can't take credit. I did not start Stronger You.
Oh, okay.
But I am involved.
Shout out to Sal.
Yeah. Okay. So Stronger You. So my partner in Stronger You is Sal Toner. He owns FC Cash Gym.
Shout out.
Yeah. Greatest human ever. But Stronger You used to be called, I think it was Chaotic Mental Health Program, I think it was called. Sal started it with another person that was at the gym. His name is Mike. I always butcher his last name, Pampalone, I think it is. But Mike is a boxer. He's also a detective. And he goes to Sal's gym, and he was a trainer, and he's a boxer. And I know that Mike had an experience with his mental health over the pandemic where, he felt very strongly about giving back, and him and Sal, who are just fitness people, wanted to create an environment for men, first responders specifically, to be able to have a space to just talk about mental health stuff. And with first responders, police of specifically, there's a lot of stigma around anything mental health related, but we don't have to live under a rock to know that they're like the most vulnerable population for their mental health, especially in New York. Like the suicide rate is super high. But because of that, the rules and the sensitivity around mental health is it's still stigmatized, because if you are struggling, there's a process of taking your gun away. There's just a lot of pride and stuff that gets involved, and people don't when they really should. And unfortunately, there's tragedies that happen because of it. So Mike and Sal created this environment. It went on, I think, almost for a year, and I learned about it from an Instagram post. Someone had shared it as a resource, and I was like, what is this? This is so cool. I thought there were it was a legit mental health, not that it wasn't legit, but I thought it was run by a mental health organization or whatever. I knew someone who knew Sal, and I was like, do you know about this? And they're like, I can connect you. So I reached out, I learned about what it was. It was literally just a casual free 1 hour workout to get guys into the gym, and then they would sit and talk about mental health for 30 minutes. And I know they had a hard time getting people to come, because it's still no matter however you swing it and you advertise it, it's just hard. So they did it for a long time. I reached out to them. I was like, I don't know if you want any help. I don't know what your vision is with this, but I love what you're doing. I would love to be involved somehow. I am a professional mental health counselor, and I would love to be able to volunteer my services. So they were 100%. I didn't even meet them at all, in person, and showed up for the first session, and we just ran it together. And obviously it wasn't perfect, but we really fed off each other really well. Sal can literally get along with everybody. A wall. Sal just makes everyone feel welcome, and you've known him forever. So we really vibed very well. And I was just we did our first thing. They're like, you're in, this is it. We're doing this. This is a thing. So after, we did it a couple times, we decided to revamp it. We changed the name of it. We created a logo. We really just made it better. There were a couple other fitness instructors from other gyms that were involved in the beginning too. So we all just volunteered our time, and we made it just available to the community, and we had such a great response. This is almost the third year that I've been involved. So they did it for a year prior, and this November will be 3 years since I've been with them, and we made it Stronger You. So it's for anyone who doesn't know, Stronger You is a free mental health and fitness program. It's hosted at FC Chaos Boxing Gym. It's a 1 hour free workout for anybody who wants to come. And then after, we do a 45-minute mental health discussion. So that's what I lead. But we've created a really cool community around it, and it's 100% free. So we literally just donate our time. And I've always been someone that loves to be involved, and I was always in charity events and doing things like that. So I think after you get into your career, you're not in college, you don't really have those opportunities as much, to be in clubs and do any kind of fundraising and things like that. So it's my way of giving back and doing something for the community, and I love it, and it's so much fun.
We went, and it was amazing. I think we talked about it when we went. I loved it.
Me
I
too.
really
I
did.
love working out.
Yeah.
I grew up as an athlete, and so you have that aspect of it. Like
Right.
you get a good workout in, and then after, it's like everyone's cooling down, winding down. We sit around the ring, and it's just like
Yeah.
roses
So
and
nice.
thorns. We did, I
Yeah.
believe, and that was the week we were in the Advance.
Yeah.
I remember that was our
Yeah,
roses.
you guys had a
and-
big week, I feel like.
No,
Yeah.
I was like, I just ended a 7-year relationship, but I was in the
Yeah,
Advance.
I remember
I was like,
that.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
That was
loved
that
it.
week, yeah. It
Yeah,
was
but
like a year ago already.
It was a while ago. That's when I
Wow.
first met you guys.
Aw.
And
my
and I
God,
was so
time is
I remember just
flying.
being so impressed with the two of you and being like,
Aw.
they just like do this like like it's I think what you do is so important, but for people who also have jobs that are so not related to mental health, like it's so amazing to see how much time and dedication that you guys put into
Yeah.
this. Like the message and the mission is so important. So to see that it's not just therapists that care about these things
That's true.
and that want to do these things, right? Like it's amazing. When you guys
Yeah.
are so young and like you're entrepreneurs and like you guys are badass and I love what you do. It's so
Thank you.
inspiring.
Thank you.
So I remember meeting you guys and being like, oh my God, like this is so cool.
Aw.
Like, especially like a local Staten Island podcast. Like I just think it's so unique and you guys are awesome.
Oh, thank you.
Well,
We
with
need to hear
this
that.
being all said, so May is Mental Health Month, and it's coming up quick. So we decided to team up with Stronger You, and we're doing a mental health fundraiser. But we're putting a little twist on it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We are doing teams. So we are currently looking for teams. So how it is, you get, what is it, 75 a person? Should we go into all that, or? I'll just say we're looking for teams,
Yeah.
things in our bio. Okay, so we are looking for teams. It's a whole fundraiser, so you could head over to the link in our YouTube bio. You could go more of this channel and then hit the link, and the link is in our link tree. You could sign up. The last day to sign up is April 20th, so very soon. So you better run and get your team together. But we're going to talk about, what's going to be at the event and what you would expect. And we are raising money for NAMI.
Yeah, so it's the structure of Stronger You is like we said, the workout, the fitness component, because obviously like that goes hand in hand with our mental health, and we try to teach people that the fitness component is really good for our hormones, our brain health, obviously like our mental health, just like being able to use it as a coping tool and a stress reliever. And then we do the mental health discussion. So we decided to make this like a bigger event, and it's going to be a team event where it's almost like relays and like almost like a field day.
It's just fun.
Yeah.
Mental
so
health
we're
and
gonna-
physical health.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to have like different events of like fitness events and then some like mental health related challenges. The teams are going to be teams of 6, right? And everyone's going to compete. All of the proceeds are going to NAMI, right?
Yes.
And our Valid Vibe girls are making us cool t-shirts. So every team's going to have a different color with their signature like logo and design, which is going to be so cool.
Yeah, I'm so excited.
And we're going to have some vendors there and just like a really good time. So it's May 4th, 6:30?
6:30.
6:30 p.m.
PM.
Yeah.
Everyone asks me because I wasn't on the flyer. PM.
Yeah, it's 6:30 p.m. at FC Cash Gym. They're located in like Tottenville area. But we'll be posting about it like crazy in the upcoming days and the next 2 weeks. And everyone's welcome. You do not have to be a mental health counselor. You don't have to be. You just have to be a human.
You don't even have to be on a team.
Yeah, you can bring dogs though if you want.
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God,
We-
please.
are
we're
welcome.
hoping that the weather is going to be like a day like today so that we
Hopefully,
can
yes.
be outside and Sal and I are creating like all of the different events and it's just going to be a really, really fun time. So,
Yeah.
So excited.
You could just come and support too,
yeah, you
and
can come and be an observer.
and watch
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
relay.
we're gonna have probably a GoFundMe up also. So either way, you could donate in honor of Mental Health Month.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Do
I'm so
something
excited.
fun for yourself. Like
Yeah.
if you are on like, if you're kind of interested in therapy or doing something for your mental health, if you're trying to have like, if you have fitness goals, right? And you're like, oh, I've been like trying to get there. I just can't like find that motivation. Like our Stronger You events have been that for so many people who it's a free workout, right? So if you're someone that's like, I don't know if I can afford the gym or I don't know if I'm ready to go back to the gym or I feel self-conscious to go work out with people. It's been a really nice environment where people get that sense of like, oh, like this was fun. I like this. I think I'm ready to like start moving my body. I think
I was just
you
gonna
did, right?
Yeah,
Like
I was just
Hotworks
gonna
or
say,
something?
yeah. I joined after the fact.
I remember you saying that.
Yeah, because oh my God, when we went last year, I was not working out. I was like so whatever. But after that, I was like, I want to go back to the gym.
Yeah.
And I joined the gym.
I remember that being one of your goals.
Yeah.
I remember something. I don't know why.
Aw.
I can't remember that for dinner last night. But and then what was I saying? and then also the mental health component. So, people who are like interested in therapy or like have questions, and how often do you get to sit there with someone that's in, a therapist to be like, oh, actually, like, this is not so bad. Like, I hope I give the impression that like, oh, I think I could do this. And a lot of times, like, people will come up to me and Sal and say like, I think I do want to start therapy. Do you know someone? And that's also, I have a resource of all these therapists that I'm like, yes, like, here's this person, call this person. So they take your insurance. So it's really like an event that just serves the community beyond just that 2 hours that we're there. And the people that come, and everyone has something to offer someone else too, because it is a peer support group. It's not a therapy group. It's not a structured like actual therapy session. It's peer support and hearing other people's experiences, struggles. And even if you feel like, oh, I'm struggling, what do I have to offer? You have something to offer every person that you meet, right? Maybe they dealt with the same thing that you were going through, and you're like, wait, when I went through that, like, this really helped me. Or someone hears something that you said and they feel like empowered to do something about it. So.
And I also think like you set the tone, because obviously it was all strangers, and and then everyone started opening up, and it was just so supportive.
It was,
and
like,
it was so comfortable. It was so like comfortable, and then you start to relate like to the people, and you form a relationship with them, and I loved it so much. I had such a good experience at Stronger You. I really did.
I loved it. And we're now like Gab, Alyssa, they still reach out to us all the time. Like, the people were amazing.
Yeah,
so.
it is awesome. That gym itself, like Sal's gym, FC Chaos, like he is, like I said, just such a great human being. But he really is that person that just brings community together. And I love that. And I didn't even go to his gym. I was doing the program with him for almost a year and a half. I wasn't even a member at his gym. And he he never pushed me, or it was never about that. And he's like, are you gonna ever like come here? I'm like, I probably should. Like, it is now. It's like another like family and community that, I love going there. I love being there. He really is amazing. And he's so giving. I say to him all the time, I don't know how you keep the lights on in this place, because he's just so giving and always helping people and making things work for people. And I'm just like, how do you do this? But he's awesome. So shout out to Sal. He couldn't be here tonight, but I can't say it enough. Like, him and I, he is literally my right hand. We do everything together, and I really appreciate him, and I hope everyone gets a chance to meet him, because he's awesome.
We'll have to have him on when he gets a free second.
Please check out Sal, FC Chaos's Instagram.
He's on there.
Sal has his own fake podcast. He has a coffee. It's called Coffee with Chaos.
I watch it.
Yeah, and he'll just literally grab you after you work out, and it's like, you're coming on, and it's like, what? But he interviews people. He highlights good things that are going on in people's lives, like anyone that goes there that has some kind of resource to share to the community too. Like, he highlights all of his members and is just awesome. So check out his little segment, because it's hilarious. And follow both our Instagrams. We have a Stronger You SI. That's our Stronger You Instagram. Oh my God, sorry. And then my Instagram for Healthy Mind is at Healthy Mind Mental Health, MHC.
I'll put them in the bio so you guys can click it.
But you can kind of check out, who we are, and hopefully you guys get to meet us in person, and we get to all have a great day together.
May 4th, just come and support. You won't regret it.
May the 4th be with you.
Yeah.
I'm so excited. Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was amazing.
So fun.
Yeah, you were so
I want to
good.
thank you for being real and authentic. First of all, you mentioned every single thing about therapy, and hopefully for everyone that's watching or listening now, you won't feel scared to take that step to go to therapy. I hope you guys feel more comfortable now to make the effort to better yourselves.
Definitely.
And I will thank you again for doing what you guys do, and like creating this space, talking about like your podcast is like so relatable to so many people, and like you're obviously authentic, and the mental health component of it is just so important. And we are in a decline. Like, mental health is really struggling the last 5 years at least. But it's just important to just normalize it. And I'm sure you reach someone every single time that's like, oh, like, if they could do it and talk about this, like, I could,
100%.
So thank you guys for doing what you do.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you. Oh, I love this. This was amazing.
So much fun.
Yeah. So thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to
stay real,
stay authentic,
and stay valid.